What's this whole mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflict people talk about? I've never felt it personally. Are there really such mean mothers-in-law out there? I get along great with Ethan's mom. Whenever I visit, we cook together and have a blast. If anything happens, I know Ethan will have my back. Ethan just proposed to me. My name is Zoe. I'm a 26-year-old office worker. I met Ethan in a college club, and we've been together for 8 years. Maybe that's why I get along so well with his mom. Back in college, we both aimed to join a major corporation. Ethan was so determined to join that famous company, and I took the chance too. Job hunting was tough, but we both made it in. We hugged and celebrated. But since then, our busy jobs meant we couldn't have many relaxed dates. We just wanted to support each other more than anything. That's when Ethan proposed. After 8 years, we felt inseparable. I was over the moon, we visited each other's families, and all that was left was the wedding. Then one day, Ethan's mom, who was supposed to live with his brother Liam, asked to move in with us. I was taken aback. We never discussed living together. "What about my parents?" I said. Ethan tried talking to her, but she wouldn't listen. She had her reasons. "After your father passed, I couldn't do much for Liam. He didn't go to college, and without a high school diploma, he can't get a job. Ethan, you're all I have. You might as well be my eldest. But Liam's there with you. We can help financially. I want to live with both Ethan and Zoe. Families support each other. I love you, Zoe. Zoe, mother-in-law." But after discussing, we agreed to live with her until Liam got married. After the wedding, we moved in. But what awaited was the classic mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflict. I was sure we'd be fine. The next morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. to find her already making breakfast. I rushed to the kitchen. "Good morning. I'm sorry I'm late. Let me help you." "Sleep in so late? I've already made breakfast and Ethan's sandwich. Women should wake up early and handle the house. What kind of upbringing did you have?" Her words stung. I was shocked. What should I do? I was surprised. From the first day, I was in a state of panic, not knowing what to do. What should I do in times like this? My mind went blank, and I said, mother-in-law, I'm sorry. What should I do? You need instructions for everything, and you work at such a big company. Maybe you got in by luck and were about to be fired. That's why you rushed to marry Ethan. That's not true. We wanted kids, and I wanted to make things easier for you. Easier. I woke up early because there's one more person, and you're still sleeping. It's more work. I'm sorry, I don't like you. Don't defy me, got it? What? Defy me, and you'll get a divorce. That's it. The classic conflict I never expected. Every day was filled with her taunts and sarcasm. The dream life I had envisioned vanished before my eyes. I was exhausted, constantly trying to keep Ethan's mom in good spirits. We'd only been married for 3 months. I wanted to talk to Ethan about it, but he was always too tired from work and fell asleep immediately. I thought I'd have a chance when he got home. One day, as Ethan was changing in the bedroom, I brought up the mother-in-law issue, but Ethan dismissed it. "Come on, Zoe. You're probably just misunderstanding. There's no way my mom would act like that with you. Anyways, I'm starving. Let's eat." I shouldn't have been surprised. In front of Ethan, mother-in-law was always the perfect mother. But behind closed doors, she was a nightmare. She'd constantly threaten, "Defy me and you'll get a divorce." Where did our feelings fit into all this? I grew distant from Ethan, feeling more and more isolated. One day, at my wit's end, I finally snapped back at her. "You keep saying defy me and you'll get a divorce. Fine, let's do it." "What? Wait." A few days later, we divorced. Mother-in-law was shocked. She had always seen me as a servant, someone who'd do anything for her. Clean, do the laundry, make the bed, wax the floors. And when you're done, go shopping and prepare lunch. I want a roast beef sandwich today. After that, give me a 2-hour massage. Got it? Defy me, and you'll get a divorce. I regretted not continuing my job. Still, I couldn't let go of my feelings for Ethan. I believed that I could build a happy family with Ethan one day. As I was packing to leave, mother-in-law entered the room, looking anxious. "What are you doing, Zoe?" "I'm leaving. I'll have movers pick up the rest later." "This is a joke, right?" "It's no joke. You said if I defied you, we'd divorce, so let's do it. You're being so childish. It's obviously a joke. A joke? Stop messing around. I've had enough. Let's divorce. It's ridiculous that your mother even has a say in this. Well, I mean, it's just that I'm not your mother's servant, you know. I never treated you like that. You're just misunderstanding, Zoe. Every single day you let this happen, and you call it a misunderstanding. Is this the kind of family your mother wanted? Wait, it's just, I've struggled raising our 2 sons. When Ethan got married, I thought I'd let out all the pent-up feelings I felt. This way for a long time. You wouldn't understand, since you don't have kids. What are you talking about? Struggled? Your father left you a house and a good amount of money. Ethan was 16 then and didn't need much care. That's why I said you wouldn't understand. Have kids and then talk. Really? But taking out your frustrations on your daughter-in-law is wrong. Was I chosen just to be your stress reliever? Is that why you were nice to me? Of course. It's always been this way. A daughter-in-law shouldn't defy her mother-in-law. That's tradition. I quickly packed and left the house. She still insisted that what she did was right and told me to understand her struggles. If this is what family means, if being treated this way is what family is about, then I don't need such a family. I'm content with my own life. I calmed down at a nearby park and then went to my parents' house. The moment I saw my mom, I burst into tears. She felt so warm. Zoe, what happened? Just wait a moment. She quickly made me a warm coffee drink. This, and calm down. This isn't like you. After calming down a bit, I told her everything. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I didn't want to worry you. You always care about me. Silly girl, I'm always here for you. Just relax here. Maybe it's best to divorce. Life has its ups and downs. I cried like a child. She hugged me tightly. I wished I could be a mother like her. The more I thought about it, the sadder I felt about Ethan not supporting me. Even if we had a good relationship with his mother, he never listened to my concerns. The happy times before marriage felt like a lie. After 8 years, I realized the complexity of the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship. Ethan, oblivious to everything, came home as usual. He called me after confronting his mother, but I refused to answer. He kept calling, but I blocked him. I just wanted a break. That night, I enjoyed the creamy stew I made with Mom and went to bed early. When I woke up the next day, I was surprised. It was already past 8:08 a.m. Rushing to the kitchen, Mom greeted me. Did you sleep well? I slept like a log. It's been a while since I had such a good sleep, Zoe. How about we go to a pottery class today? A pottery class today? It's a new place nearby. They let you join even for just 1 session. I've been wanting to make a vase. Thought it might be a good distraction. I decided to spend the day out with Mom. The pottery class was more engaging and fun than I expected. For that moment, I completely forgot about yesterday. Later, Mom and I had a late lunch and did some shopping, helping with dinner. I realized it had been a while since we spent quality time together during college in my early working days. I never really cooked with Mom. She looked genuinely happy, probably trying to cheer me up. A few days later, a letter arrived for me. Ethan's name was on the back. I opened it immediately. To my shock, it was divorce papers. I couldn't understand why Ethan would do this, but part of me felt relieved. I felt bad for not answering his calls, but sending divorce papers was a bit much. With no lingering feelings, I decided to fill them out and submit them to City Hall. Is this how breakups go? I started to think Ethan was just like my mother-in-law. What happened to those happy 8 years? As these thoughts consumed me, my phone buzzed. It was an email from Ethan. I hesitated but opened it. There, the email painted a picture of Ethan completely under mother-in-law's control. She had manipulated him, blaming everything on me. I was shaking. Could this really be happening? Had mother-in-law cried to Ethan? My head was spinning. Ethan's message. I always believed in US. It hurts to be betrayed like this. Left me conflicted. It was clear mother-in-law was behind this, but my feelings remained unchanged. The realization of mother-in-law's true nature was terrifying. Regardless, I decided to submit the divorce papers the next day. The next morning, I went to the city hall and had the papers processed. Surprisingly, I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. Feeling motivated, I decided to start job hunting. A few days later, I got a call from a former boss. There was an opening in a subsidiary company, and they were struggling to find the right person. The offer was tempting, so I expressed my interest. Then, my phone rang. It was Ethan. Answering, I could hear a frantic Ethan. "Zoe, you haven't submitted the divorce papers, right? Let's forget all about it." "What? I'm sorry, I didn't know," I replied. "Everything Liam told me, everything—" It was all Mom's doing. Liam knew about her true nature, but couldn't intervene because he feared she'd kick him out. He's really sorry. "So what do you want?" I asked. "I want to apologize. I'm truly sorry," Ethan pleaded. "It's too late. Please don't contact me anymore. It's over," I asserted. "What? Let's get back together." "It was all Mom's fault. I was a victim too," Ethan insisted. "A victim? You never listened to me. But I thought Mom was telling the truth. She's always been kind, so I thought you were mistaken. Do you realize how much I suffered? How hard it was?" Mother-in-law kept piling chores on me. "You never listened. This is the result," I explained. "That's not true. I was deceived by Mom. Let's start over. I rented a place near your house," Ethan pleaded. "I'm not interested, and the divorce papers have been processed. It's over," I stated firmly. "I shouldn't have sent those papers. It was all Mom's idea. You always blame Mom. Liam seems to understand better. He's not just playing games at home. He's working," Ethan argued. "I thought he was just playing games. That's another lie from mother-in-law. You two are perfect for each other." "Goodbye," I said, hanging up. "Wait. Let's try again, Zoe. Zoe." Ethan's voice echoed in my mind as I hung up, feeling a sense of closure as I realized that it was already over. And so, I started a new chapter in my life. "Zoe, it's your first day at work. Here's a sandwich. Thanks, Mom. I'm running late. I'll make my own tomorrow. Take care. Will do. Bye," I said, feeling refreshed. A few months later, I was promoted to manager. Work was fun and my colleagues were great. I looked forward to the future. Maybe I'll take a break from dating. I'll take things slow.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me and began to speak. "There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only." "Absolutely right." His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. "I'm leaving." After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick? Is something wrong?" Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. "What kind of training are you giving your subordinates?" Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, "I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong." "Mike, what have you done?" Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here." "He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.